Penguin Random House Audio presents We're Still Right, They're Still Wrong, The Democrats' Case for 2016 by James Carville. Read for you by Tom Stechschulte, with an introduction read by the author.
As I'm writing this, I do not know for absolutely sure that Trump will be the GOP presidential nominee. It's May now. The Republican National Convention is still 3 months away, and for all I know, the delegates in Cleveland could give the big prize to Trump or Speaker of the House Paul Ryan or to the cryogenically frozen head of Walt Disney. Frankly, it doesn't matter. Win, lose, or draw in Cleveland, Trump has presided over the death of the Republican Party as we know it. In a race that seemed like a lock for the leading lights of the GOP, Trump found a rip in the body politic, an edge like one of those perforated lines on a ketchup packet that says, "Tear here." Except in this case, the line divided the GOP's, quote, establishment, unquote, from its base, and Trump tore it away with his tiny, stumpy fingers. He ripped the party straight through the gut. Today we have a Republican Party whose voters hate their party leaders, and the party leaders hate the voters. In fact, the magazine, The National Review, is the closest thing the GOP has to an official publication, and one of their main contributors, Kevin Williamson, painted Trump supporters as loser drug addicts, writing that, quote, the truth about these dysfunctional downscale communities is that they deserve to die, unquote. Donald Trump's speeches make them feel good, he wrote. So does Oxycontin. Of course, the billion-dollar question of this election cycle has been, why did this Republican Civil War happen? Why Trump? Why now? Well, there are probably 1,000 explanations for Trump's hostile takeover of the GOP. There are demographic shifts and economic indicators that help explain it. And I'll get into many of those later on. But sometimes the best explanation is the simplest one. Trump happened because the Republican Party had been so wrong for so long about so many things. That also happens to be a core argument of this book. Trump succeeded because the Republican Party failed. For 30 years, Republican politicians, everyone from Reagan to W. Bush to Paul Ryan, have shown up in those hard-scrabble towns that the National Review talked about. They visited dilapidated bandstands in the Union watering holes, places where they don't serve Veuve Clicquot champagne, just dollar beers and a shot. And those politicians have offered the voters the same bargain every time. The bargain went something like this. If you allow us to cut taxes for our donors and allow us to slash your Social Security and Medicare benefits and let us gut any regulation and negotiate any kind of trade deal we want, then we'll let you keep your guns. And by the way, all of this will actually be good for you in the long run. Trust us, they said. You'll be able to afford more than $1 beer soon. Well, Republican voters did trust them for a long time. They believed that prosperity was just around the corner, and they waited for it, and waited for it, and waited for it, until they could wait no longer. Think about it. It's 2016. 16% of the century is over, and not only has the Republican Party failed to deliver on their bargain, their policies have not helped struggling communities, but they've also been wrong about everything else. This is a party that told us that the Bush tax cuts were going to help the middle class, not explode the deficit. Then they told us Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. Then the Iraqis were going to greet us as liberators. Then the Bush administration was doing a heck of a job during Katrina. Then that the fundamentals of the economy were strong. Then that Obamacare was going to wreck the economy. Then that Romney was going to win Ohio and slip into the presidency. Then that we have $6 gas once Obama got reelected, and crashed the stock market, and 8% unemployment, and finally they told us we're all going to catch Ebola and die. My God, the only organization with a worse record this millennium has been the Oakland Raiders. At some point, voters are going to wake up. Of course they're going to mutiny like the deckhands on a ship captained by idiots. And that point came this year. Unfortunately, the wake-up call also came in the form of a tangerine with the political leanings of Generalissimo Francisco Franco, otherwise known as Donald J. Trump. Why Trump? Why now? Because the Republican Party has failed, and Trump is the living, breathing manifestation of that failure. He may have pissed in the GOP's punch bowl, but the truth is the party was over before this punch was spiked with Trump's pee. It had died long before he came along, and the cause of death wasn't murder, but suicide. A long
Sample complete. Ready to continue?